The story begins in the shadowed depths of Coruscant, where the city planet's neon glow never fully pierced the industrial underbelly. Far below the gleaming spires of the Senate, in a hidden laboratory carved into the rusted heart of the works, Darth Sidious stood motionless. His hooded silhouette loomed over a transparasteel pod, where a figure floated in a shimmering Bacta tank. The figure was young, Togruta, with orange skin and white-blue montrals that swayed gently in the liquid. She was Ahsoka Tano, or rather, a perfect clone of her, crafted from genetic material stolen during the Clone Wars. Sidious's yellow eyes gleamed with cold satisfaction. This was no mere experiment. This was a weapon, a shadow of the Jedi's lost daughter, designed to unravel the galaxy's fragile hope. The Clone Wars had ended, but the galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos. The Jedi Order, diminished but enduring, struggled to rebuild under the leadership of Obi-Wan Kenobi and a reformed Senate led by Bail Organa. Darth Sidious, presumed dead after his defeat on Mustafar, had survived in secret, his body scarred but his mind sharper than ever. He had orchestrated the war's end to lull the Republic into complacency, and now, from the shadows, he wove a new plan. The clone of Ahsoka Tano, whom he named Ashla, was his masterpiece. Infused with manipulated memories and trained in the dark side, Ashla believed herself to be the true Ahsoka, abandoned by the Jedi and betrayed by Anakin Skywalker. Her purpose was singular: to destroy the Jedi from within, sowing distrust and despair. Ashla stirred in the tank, her eyes snapping open, glowing faintly yellow. Sidious's lips curled into a sneer as he activated the release mechanism. The Bacta drained, and Ashla stepped onto the cold floor, her movements precise, predatory. She knelt before her master, unaware of her true origins, her mind a tapestry of lies. Sidious commanded her to infiltrate the Jedi Temple, to pose as Ahsoka Tano, returned from exile, and to shatter the Order's fragile unity. Ashla nodded, her heart burning with a fabricated hatred for the Jedi who had forsaken her. But deep within, a flicker of doubt lingered, a fragment of Ahsoka's true spirit buried beneath the Sith's manipulations. Meanwhile, on the lush plains of Naboo, Ahsoka Tano, the real Ahsoka, stood alone by a quiet lake. Her white lightsabers hung at her belt, untouched for months. The war was over, but peace felt hollow. She had left the Jedi Order years ago, unable to reconcile their flaws, yet the galaxy's rebuilding efforts called to her. She worked in secret, aiding refugees and thwarting remnant Imperial cells, but her heart ached for the family she had lost. Anakin, Obi-Wan, Rex. Her solitude was her strength, but it was also her burden. As she gazed at the water, a disturbance rippled through the Force, sharp and familiar, like a shadow of herself. Ahsoka's montrals twitched, her hand instinctively grazing her sabers. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. On Coruscant, Ashla arrived at the Jedi Temple under the cover of twilight. The rebuilt structure stood as a symbol of hope, its spires gleaming against the city's endless lights. She wore Ahsoka's signature attire, her movements mimicking the Togruta's grace. The Jedi guards, unaware of the deception, welcomed her with cautious joy, believing their lost sister had returned. Obi-Wan Kenobi, now a senior member of the Council, sensed a tremor in the Force as Ashla approached. His beard was grayer, his eyes heavier with the weight of loss, but his resolve remained unbroken. He had trained Anakin, mourned his fall, and now guided the Jedi toward a new era. Yet, as he greeted Ashla, a chill ran through him. Her smile was Ahsoka's, her voice identical, but something in her presence felt fractured, like a melody played slightly off-key. The deception began subtly. Ashla integrated herself into the temple, sharing stories of her supposed exile that mirrored Ahsoka's own. She trained with younglings, her skill with dual sabers dazzling the initiates, but her lessons carried a subtle edge of aggression. Obi-Wan observed her closely, torn between hope and suspicion. He confided in Plo Koon, the Keldor Jedi who had discovered Ahsoka as a child. Plo Koon's masked face betrayed no emotion, but his voice carried a quiet unease. He recalled Ahsoka's spirit, her defiance and compassion, and saw none of it in this newcomer. The two Jedi agreed to watch Ashla, unaware that her presence was already sowing discord among the younger Jedi, who whispered of her strength and questioned the Council's caution. On Naboo, Ahsoka's unease grew. The disturbance in the Force sharpened, pulling her toward Coruscant. She boarded her ship, the Twilight, and set course for the capital, her mind racing. The Force whispered of a shadow wearing her face, a perversion of her legacy. As she entered hyperspace, memories of Anakin flooded her, his laughter, his rage, his final moments as Darth Vader. She had forgiven him, but the pain lingered. The thought of her identity being stolen ignited a fire within her, a resolve to confront whatever awaited. The stars blurred outside the viewport, and Ahsoka steeled herself for the truth. The narrative shifts to the desert world of Tatooine, where Ashla's first mission unfolded. Sidious had ordered her to retrieve a holocron from a hidden Sith shrine beneath the Dune Sea, a relic that could amplify her dark side abilities. Ashla landed her stolen Republic shuttle near the Lars homestead, its twin suns casting long shadows across the sand. She moved with lethal precision, dispatching a band of Tusken raiders who guarded the shrine's entrance. Inside, the holocron pulsed with crimson light, its whispers feeding her anger. But as she grasped it, a vision struck her. A memory of Ahsoka training with Anakin, their bond unbreakable. Ashla staggered, clutching her head. The vision was not hers, yet it felt real, stirring a conflict she could not name. She buried the feeling, securing the holocron and returning to her ship, but the seed of doubt grew. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan and Plo Koon uncovered a discrepancy in Ashla's story. Her account of surviving Order 66 contained details that clashed with known events. Plo Koon, ever methodical, cross-referenced temple records and found no trace of Ahsoka's supposed return until now. The Jedi convened a secret meeting, excluding Ashla, and debated her identity. Obi-Wan's heart sank as he voiced the unthinkable. This Ahsoka might be a Sith creation, a pawn of a hidden enemy. The Council dispatched a team to investigate the works, suspecting a connection to the Sith's lingering influence. Meanwhile, Ashla sensed their growing distrust. She slipped into the temple archives, planting false data to implicate Obi-Wan in a fabricated plot against the Senate, her actions guided by Sidious's commands. The tension escalated on the ocean planet of Kamino, where Ahsoka arrived seeking answers. The Kaminoans, masters of cloning, had survived the war and now operated under Republic oversight. Ahsoka met with Lama Su, the Prime Minister, who revealed a disturbing truth. During the war, genetic samples of Jedi had been stolen, including Ahsoka's. The Kaminoans had detected unauthorized cloning activity on Coruscant, linked to a facility in the works. Ahsoka's blood ran cold. The shadow in the Force was no metaphor. It was a clone, a twisted reflection of herself. As she prepared to leave, Kamino's defenses triggered an alarm. Ashla, anticipating Ahsoka's movements, had sabotaged the facility's power grid, flooding the cloning chambers. Ahsoka fought through waves of malfunctioning droids, her white sabers a blur, but the chaos delayed her departure. She escaped aboard the Twilight, her resolve hardened, but the weight of her stolen identity pressed heavier. Back on Coruscant, Ashla's manipulations bore fruit. The false data she planted sparked rumors of Obi-Wan's disloyalty, dividing the Jedi. Younglings idolized Ashla, drawn to her strength, while older Jedi grew wary. Plo Koon, undeterred, led a team into the works, navigating its labyrinthine tunnels. They discovered Sidious's laboratory, its walls lined with failed cloning experiments. A hollow recording revealed the truth. Ashla was a clone, engineered to destroy the Jedi. Plo Koon transmitted the evidence to Obi-Wan, but Ashla intercepted the signal. She confronted Plo Koon in the laboratory, her red sabers igniting with a hiss. The duel was fierce, Plo Koon's blue blade clashing against Ashla's relentless strikes. His calm precision held her at bay, but Ashla's dark side fury overwhelmed him. With a final slash, she struck him down, his body crumpling amid the shattered tanks. Ashla fled, her heart pounding with a mix of triumph and turmoil, the vision from Tatooine haunting her. Ahsoka's ship emerged from hyperspace above Coruscant, the city planet sprawling beneath her. The Force screamed a warning, and she sensed Plo Koon's death, a wound in the light. She landed near the temple, cloaked in shadow, and slipped inside, avoiding detection. The Jedi were in disarray, torn by Ashla's lies. Ahsoka moved through the halls, her mantrals attuned to the clone's presence. She found Obi-Wan in the meditation chamber, his face etched with grief. Their reunion was bittersweet, cut short by the need for action. Obi-Wan revealed Plo Koon's discovery, and Ahsoka confessed her fears. The clone was not just a weapon, but a perversion of her soul. Together, they vowed to stop Ashla, but the temple's alarms blared. Ashla had activated the security systems, locking down the complex and trapping the Jedi inside. The stage was set for a confrontation that would test Ahsoka's spirit and reshape the galaxy's future. The Jedi temple on Coruscant pulsed with chaos. Red emergency lights bathed the halls, and the hum of lockdown protocols sealed every exit. Ahsoka Tano and Obi-Wan Kenobi moved swiftly through the shadowed corridors, their senses heightened by the Force. Ashla, the clone of Ahsoka, had turned the temple's defenses against its inhabitants, trapping Jedi in training chambers and isolating the Council. Ahsoka's heart raced, her mantrals picking up the distant clash of sabers and the cries of younglings. The clone's presence was a wound in the Force, a twisted echo of herself that threatened everything she had fought for. Obi-Wan, his blue lightsaber ignited, led the way, his face a mask of determination. He blamed himself for not seeing through Ashla's deception sooner, and the loss of Plo Koon weighed heavily on him. Their mission was clear: find Ashla, stop her, and uncover Sidious's plan before the Jedi Order collapsed. The development of Ashla's sabotage unfolded with ruthless precision. She had hacked into the temple's central systems, broadcasting her falsified evidence against Obi-Wan across the holonet. Senators on Coruscant, already wary of the Jedi's influence, began to question their loyalty. Bail Organa, now Chancellor, worked to quell the rumors, but the Senate's fragile unity cracked under the pressure. Ashla's true goal, guided by Sidious's whispers, was to fracture the Republic's trust in the Jedi, paving the way for a new Sith uprising. Yet, within Ashla, the conflict grew. The vision from the Sith holocron on Tatooine haunted her. Images of Ahsoka's bond with Anakin, her compassion for the clones, her defiance against injustice. These memories clashed with the hatred Sidious had instilled, creating a storm in her mind. She pushed it down, focusing on her mission, but each step felt heavier, as if the Force itself resisted her. Ahsoka and Obi-Wan reached the temple's central atrium, where Ashla had unleashed a squad of reprogrammed security droids. The droids opened fire, their blasters carving red streaks through the air. Ahsoka's white sabers spun in a blur, deflecting bolts and slicing through metal with fluid grace. Obi-Wan moved beside her, his strikes precise, redirecting enemy fire into their own ranks. The atrium's marble pillars cracked under the barrage, and younglings cowered behind overturned benches. Ahsoka's heart ached at their fear, but she fought with unrelenting focus, her movements a mirror of the clones yet grounded in light. Obi-Wan called out to the younglings, urging them to retreat to the lower levels, and Ahsoka covered their escape, her sabers a whirlwind of white fire. The droids fell, but Ashla was nowhere in sight. Ahsoka sensed her nearby, a shadow slipping toward the council chamber. The narrative shifted to the industrial moon of Nar Shaddaa, where Ashla pursued her next objective. Sidious had ordered her to retrieve a cache of kyber crystals hidden in a smuggler's den, crystals powerful enough to fuel a new Sith weapon. Nar Shaddaa's neon-lit streets buzzed with danger, its towering spires cloaked in smog. Ashla navigated the Undercity, her red sabers hidden beneath a cloak. She infiltrated the den, a fortified warehouse guarded by Hutt enforcers. The fight was swift and brutal. Her blades carved through Gamorrean guards, and she used the Force to crush the warehouse's defenses. The kyber crystals glowed within a sealed vault, their energy resonating with her. As she touched them, another vision struck. Ahsoka standing on Mandalore, fighting alongside Bo-Katan Kryze, her resolve unshakable. Ashla staggered, the crystals amplifying her doubt. She secured the cache and fled, but the visions gnawed at her, whispering of a life she was never meant to have. On Coruscant, Obi-Wan's role in the secondary storyline deepened. The galaxy moved forward. He led a small team of Jedi, Kit Fisto and Aayla Secura, to the works, determined to find Sidious's lair and destroy it. The labyrinthine tunnels reeked of decay, their walls scarred by failed experiments. Obi-Wan's mind drifted to Anakin, to the brother he had lost, and now to Ahsoka, whose identity had been stolen. He questioned whether he could save her from this new threat, or if he was doomed to lose another piece of his family. The team discovered a secondary laboratory, its consoles still active. A hollow recording flickered to life, revealing Sidious's voice. He had created Ashla not only to destroy the Jedi, but to replace Darth Vader, whose betrayal on Mustafar had weakened his usefulness. The recording cut off as the lab's defenses activated, unleashing a swarm of Sith-modified droidekas. Kit Fisto's green saber danced through the fray, while Ayla's blue blade cut precise arcs. Obi-Wan fought with grim resolve, his saber a beacon in the dark. They destroyed the droids, but the lab's data confirmed Sidious's survival, a truth that chilled Obi-Wan to his core. Ahsoka, meanwhile, tracked Ashla to the temple's council chamber. The towering windows cast long shadows, and the chairs of the absent council stood empty. Ashla waited within, her red sabers ignited, her face a mirror of Ahsoka's yet twisted with rage. The confrontation was electric, their sabers clashing in a storm of white and red. Ahsoka fought to subdue, not to kill, her heart torn by the sight of her own likeness. Ashla's strikes were ferocious, fueled by Sidious's lies, but Ahsoka sensed the turmoil within her. She spoke through the duel, urging Ashla to question her memories, to feel the truth in the Force. Ashla faltered, her blades slowing, but Sidious's influence held firm. The chamber's windows shattered under the force of their clash, glass raining down as the duel spilled onto the temple's outer balcony. Ahsoka knocked one of Ashla's sabers away, but the clone retaliated with a blast of dark side energy, forcing Ahsoka to retreat. The fight ended in a stalemate, Ashla escaping into the night, leaving Ahsoka with a mix of resolve and despair. On Utapau's sinkhole-riddled surface, Ahsoka pursued Ashla to a separatist stronghold Sidious had secretly reactivated. The planet's caverns echoed with the hum of droid factories, their production lines churning out war machines for Sidious's planned resurgence. Ashla, now armed with the kyber crystals, aimed to activate a superweapon capable of leveling Jedi outposts. Ahsoka infiltrated the stronghold, navigating its vertical shafts and battling waves of B-1 battle droids. The air crackled with tension as she reached the central reactor, where Ashla stood before a massive kyber-powered cannon. Their duel reignited, sabers clashing amid sparking machinery. Ahsoka's white blades met Ashla's red, each strike a plea for redemption. The unexpected twist came when Ashla's visions overwhelmed her, a flood of Ahsoka's memories, from her trials on Mortis to her farewell to Rex. She froze, her sabers trembling, and Ahsoka seized the moment, disarming her. But Sidious, watching through a hidden holotransmitter, triggered the cannon's self-destruct sequence, forcing Ahsoka to drag Ashla from the collapsing chamber. The stronghold erupted in a fireball, the shockwave echoing through Utapau's canyons, but Ahsoka and Ashla escaped aboard a stolen gunship, their fates intertwined. Simultaneously, above Coruscant, Obi-Wan led a Republic fleet against Sidious's hidden armada. The Sith Lord had amassed a flotilla of modified Providence-class cruisers, cloaked in the planet's orbital debris field. Obi-Wan, aboard the Negotiator, coordinated with Admiral Yularen and Captain Rex, who had joined the mission to honor Plo Koon's memory. The battle was chaos. Laser barrages lit the void, and Republic ARC 170 fighters weaved through hails of vulture droid fire. Obi-Wan's Jedi instincts guided the fleet, but Sidious's cruisers unleashed a devastating ion pulse, disabling half the Republic ships. The twist came when Rex uncovered a transmission revealing Sidious's presence on the lead cruiser. Obi-Wan boarded the enemy flagship, his saber cutting through commando droids as he confronted Sidious in the command bridge. The Sith Lord's red blades spun with unnatural speed, and his lightning scorched the deck. Obi-Wan fought with everything he had, his love for Ahsoka and Anakin fueling his resolve. The duel ended when Obi-Wan, wounded but unyielding, drove his saber through Sidious's chest, the Sith's scream fading into silence. The Armada's command structure collapsed, and Republic forces secured the victory, but Obi-Wan's heart remained heavy, knowing Ahsoka's battle was far from over. On Utapau, Ahsoka faced not just a physical enemy, but a reflection of her own fears, losing herself to darkness. Ashla's hesitation, sparked by Ahsoka's memories, added an unpredictable layer, avoiding a straightforward victory. Above Coruscant, Obi-Wan's duel with Sidious was a cathartic release of his guilt, but the cost of the battle, lost ships, lost lives, underscored the price of their fight. The twin fronts wove together, each amplifying the other's stakes, as Ahsoka and Obi-Wan fought to protect the galaxy and each other. The gunship roared through Utapau's dusty skies, its hull scorched from the stronghold's destruction. Ahsoka Tano gripped the controls, her white-blue montrals taut with focus. Beside her, Ashla, the clone crafted by Darth Sidious, sat restrained, her red sabers confiscated. The visions that had overwhelmed Ashla in the reactor chamber lingered, fragments of Ahsoka's life, her loyalty, her pain, her hope, clashing with the Sith's lies. Ashla's yellow eyes flickered, no longer burning with rage but clouded with confusion. Ahsoka felt the weight of her clone's existence, a mirror of her own struggles, and a quiet resolve settled in her chest. The galaxy had been saved from Sidious's weapon, but the cost was etched in every scar, every loss. The Force hummed softly, urging her to find a path forward, not just for herself, but for the shadow she had pulled from the fire. On Coruscant, the Republic fleet limped back to orbit, its ships battered but victorious. Obi-Wan Kenobi stood on the Negotiator's bridge, his robes singed, his body aching from the duel with Sidious. Captain Rex stood beside him, his helmet tucked under his arm, his face lined with grief for Plo Koon and the clones lost in the battle. The Sith Lord's death was confirmed, his body recovered from the cruiser's wreckage, but Obi-Wan felt no triumph. The galaxy had been deceived once before, and the Jedi's blindness had cost them dearly. He thought of Anakin, of Ahsoka, of the family he had failed to protect. Yet, as he looked at Rex, who had fought for a republic now free of Sidious's shadow, Obi-Wan found a flicker of hope. The Jedi would rebuild, but they would do so with open eyes, guided by truth rather than tradition. The narrative settled into a quieter rhythm as Ahsoka landed the gunship on Naboo, the planet where her journey had begun. The lush meadows stretched toward the horizon, their tranquility a stark contrast to the chaos of Utapau and Coruscant. Ahsoka led Ashla to a secluded grove, where a familiar figure awaited, R2-D2, the astromech droid who had been at Anakin's side through countless battles. His dome gleamed in the sunlight, and his cheerful beeps brought a faint smile to Ahsoka's lips. R2-D2 had been sent by Bail Organa to deliver a message, but Ahsoka sensed his presence was more than logistical. The droid carried memories of Anakin's better days, a reminder of the light that had once defined him. Ahsoka knelt beside R2-D2, her hand brushing his chassis, and felt a pang of nostalgia. Ashla watched in silence, her borrowed memories stirring at the sight of the droid, a connection to a past she could never fully claim. The grove became a place of reckoning. Ahsoka unbound Ashla, returning her sabers but keeping her own at the ready. She spoke of the Jedi, of Anakin, of the choices that had shaped her life. Ashla listened, her face a mask of conflict. The visions from the Kyber crystals had fractured Sidious's hold, but the dark side still whispered to her, promising power, purpose. Ahsoka saw herself in Ashla's struggle, the same defiance, the same fear of being lost. She offered Ashla a choice, to embrace the light, to forge her own path, or to remain a prisoner of Sidious's lies. Ashla's hands trembled as she gripped her sabers, their red blades unignited. For a moment, the grove was silent, the Force holding its breath. Then, with a cry of anguish, Ashla ignited her sabers and lunged at Ahsoka, her movements driven by pain rather than hatred. Ahsoka parried, her white blades meeting red, but she fought to protect, not to destroy. The duel was brief, Ashla's strikes faltering as her resolve crumbled. She dropped her sabers, falling to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Ahsoka deactivated her blades and knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. The clone was not her enemy. She was her shadow, a life stolen by the Sith. The Bai tragedy unfolded with Ashla's decision. She could not live as Ahsoka's echo, nor could she return to the darkness that had birthed her. She asked Ahsoka to end her suffering, to grant her peace. Ahsoka's heart broke, but she understood the weight of Ashla's pain. With R2-D2 beeping softly in the background, Ahsoka honored her request. She used the Force to ease Ashla's mind, guiding her into a final meditation. Ashla closed her eyes, a faint smile crossing her lips as she merged with the Force, her body fading into light. Ahsoka stood alone, the grove silent, her sabers heavy at her belt. The loss cut deep, a reminder of the lives Sidious had twisted, but it also strengthened her resolve. She would carry Ashla's memory, a testament to the light that could endure even in the darkest creations. The political ramifications rippled across the galaxy. On Coruscant, Bail Organa addressed the Senate, revealing Sidious's survival and his cloning experiments. The evidence from the works, combined with Obi-Wan's testimony, shattered the last vestiges of trust in the old Republic's systems. Padme Amidala, now a senior senator, proposed sweeping reforms, limiting centralized power and strengthening planetary autonomy. The Jedi, led by Obi-Wan, pledged to serve as guardians of peace, not enforcers of policy. The Senate voted to establish a Galactic Oversight Council, with representatives from both Republic and former Separatist worlds, ensuring no single leader could manipulate the galaxy again. The reforms were a beacon of hope, but they came at a cost. Distrust lingered, and rebuilding would take years. Obi-Wan's secondary storyline found closure in the Jedi Temple. He stood in the council chamber, now filled with new faces: Kit Fisto, Ayla Secura, and younger Jedi like Ezra Bridger. The Order was smaller, humbler, but stronger for it. Obi-Wan spoke of Plo Koon's sacrifice, of Ahsoka's courage, and of the need to embrace change. He proposed opening the temple to non-Jedi, training Force-sensitive individuals as mediators and healers, not just warriors. The council agreed, and Obi-Wan felt a weight lift. He visited Plo Koon's memorial, where a single Kyber crystal glowed, and whispered a promise to honor his friend's legacy. Rex joined him, offering a quiet nod, their bond a reminder of the clones' sacrifices. The Jedi would no longer stand apart from the galaxy. They would live within it, guided by compassion. Ahsoka returned to Coruscant, her steps lighter, but her heart heavy. She met Obi-Wan in the temple gardens, where the first blooms of peace were taking root. They spoke of Ashla, of Anakin, of the scars that would never fully heal. Ahsoka chose not to rejoin the Jedi, but she pledged to work alongside them, training a new generation of Force users who could bridge the light and the gray. R2-D2 rolled beside her, his presence a link to the past that grounded her hope for the future. The galaxy was not perfect. Pirates still raided, politics still schemed. But without Sidious's shadow, the Force flowed freely. Ahsoka looked to the stars, feeling Ashla's peace within her, and knew she had found her place. On Tatooine, a young Luke Skywalker gazed at the twin suns, unaware of the legacy he would one day inherit. On Mandalore, Bo-Katan Kryze led her people toward unity, inspired by Ahsoka's example. The Republic and its new council forged a fragile but enduring peace, and the Jedi, reborn, stood as its guardians. Ahsoka's sacrifice for Ashla, Obi-Wan's redemption through reform, and the galaxy's resilience wove a tapestry of loss and hope, a story that would echo through the ages. And folks, that's our story for today. This one hit me hard. Writing Ahsoka facing her own clone was like diving into her soul, her strength, and her pain. The idea came from watching the Clone Wars finale again, where Ahsoka's choice to walk away felt so raw, so powerful. I wanted to explore what it means to confront a version of yourself twisted by someone else's lies. And I hope Ashla's arc resonated with you. Obi-Wan's journey, carrying the weight of his losses, felt like a love letter to his resilience. Throwing in R2-D2 was my way of tying it back to the heart of Star Wars, those little moments of hope that keep us going. What did you think? Did the ending hit the right notes? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and let me know what if you want to see next. Thanks for joining me on this ride, and I'll see you in the next video.